Murnice Tiller Hanegan, and I'm telling a little bit of my life history. To begin with, my parents were William and Edith Tiller, and my mother's parents were the last name was Staff. And they came from Sweden in their early days and moved around several places in the States as my grandfather was a minister. And my dad's parents were, last name was Tiller, of course, and they lived on a farm in Dassel all their life. And they came from Norway. And so when I was small, we lived also on a farm in the little town of Dassel, just about a mile from where the Tiller farm was. And I just remember when I was little some of the different things we did, and in the winter how cold and snowy it was, and as little kids we'd go out and play and build snowmen and so forth. And I had three sisters: Violet, who was older than I was, and Virginia, she was the third one, and then Carol, who was the youngest. And Violet has passed away, and Virginia lives here in Tigard near me, and Carol lives down in San Diego, California.
What year were you born?
Oh, I was born in 1918 on July the 19th.
On the farm?
On the farm, yeah. Those days my parents didn't go to the hospital to have the babies. So
was there a midwife or anything present?
Well, I think my dad's sister came to be with my mother when I was born. And then let's see.
And you're what, 3 years older than Virginia?
Yeah. And Virginia was born in what was that? September the 30th, and 3 years from 1921, approximately. And Carol is 8 years younger than I. She was also born on the farm. Her birthday is when is her birthday?
That's okay.
And I'll remember it in a little bit.
Yeah.
August the 4th is her birthday. So she was born in.
What about your mother? Was she a nurse for a while?
Yes, my mother was a nurse before she was married. She was, in those days you went to the people's home and took care of whoever was sick, and usually you stayed the whole time they were ill till they got better, or if they passed away or whatever the situation. And quite often she went to take care of a lady who had had a baby. In fact, that's how I got my name. She took care of a lady who had twins, and one named Murnice and the other she named Murnice.
With a B?
With a B, and I think the one that was named Murnice died. That came about.
That's a different name. You never hear that name very much.
I know it.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think, as I remember my mother saying, when they lived in Iowa, I think that's where she
took care of her.
Took care of that lady. And, yeah, my mother moved around quite a bit because she lived with her folks most of the time, and being my grandfather was a minister, they moved to different cities and states.
What kind of church was that?
Well, it was a covenant church, and at that time most of his preaching was done in Swedish language, because most of the old people then, where he was, were Swedish people.
Did they speak mostly Swedish at home? Grandma and Grandpa?
Yes, That's they spoke Swedish all the time. Because when we were kids, and sometimes we'd have to go there after school if my parents had things to do, and we never liked to go there because we couldn't understand their Swedish and they couldn't talk English to us. So it wasn't very much fun. And the same way to go to my dad's parents, they talked Norwegian and they didn't hardly talk any English, so
Yeah.
hard to. So we really never got really acquainted, you know, got close.
And you didn't learn.
We never learned. Oh, I used to understand some of it, but I never could talk. So. Anyway, I went to school and, well, first I went to school for a little while, I guess like a kindergarten. I stayed with my cousin. It was a little country school where all the grades were in one room. And I'd go a few hours every day and stayed with her for a while. And
Was that in Dassel?
that was in Dassel. It was a little community called Collinwood, and where they had this country school where she went to school through 8th grade. And then I started 1st grade in Dassel, and we had to ride the bus. We lived about 2 miles from town, but riding the bus, we rode 10 miles. By the time we got on the bus, the first ones, and got to school, I picked up everybody else. And when it was real cold, the bus driver would have these cement blocks that were heated that he'd put on the bus to put our feet on to keep warm. So there were no heaters in the buses.
Oh.
That was kind of interesting.
So what time did you get on the bus in the morning, like 7?
About 8 o'clock.
Oh, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. See, school didn't start till 9.
And what time did you get home then?
Oh, it was 4 o'clock or after 4:30 sometimes.
Yeah, dark
But
almost.
It was almost another time.
Yeah.
And we had about, quarter of a mile or more to walk to catch the bus. To get
Down
on
the
bus.
driveway or down the...
on the road.
Did they ever close school for snow?
Well, sometimes, not very often. They pretty much kept it going unless the drifts got too bad.
Yeah.
And of course, sometimes they'd have it just the kids in town would get to school. And we wouldn't, if you lived out in the country, you didn't get there maybe for 2-3 days.
Yeah.
Because the drifts would be so high and hard to shovel off.
How big were your classes? Did you
Well,
have one first grade, or were there more than one grade in a
no,
room?
there was just usually one grade of
In a room?
each, one class of each.
Well, that's pretty
So,
good.
yeah, and all from first through high school was all in the same building. The first few grades were on the main floor, and then it was a 3-story building that I went to, and then from I think the 5th grade through the 8th were on the 2nd floor. Then the high school was up on the 3rd floor. There was just one big room, and then we went to different rooms for each class. So that was.
And you graduated from high school?
I graduated from there. Yeah. There were 37 of us in our graduating class. Big deal.
Yeah.
And let's see.
Well, let's go back to the farm. What do you remember? Is that what Grandpa did? Or did he?
Yeah, he farmed all his life on the farm.
Did he?
While we were in Dassel.
Yeah.
We lived there until we had the usual things: pigs and cows and horses, and he raised grain and corn and.
Did he have plow horses then?
Oh yeah.
Hold the plow?
I think we had one, as I remember one time we had 4 horses. And then last we had just the 2 of them. So it was, and they had chickens, and so I always had to help milk the cows and feed the chickens. And
You had your chores.
I had everything, yeah. So that was,
Did Virginia and Carol have chores too, or did you have most of the
Well,
chores?
Virginia used to help some. She'll probably say, but I don't. Well, I guess she did milk some too, but usually I did most of that, and especially like the threshing time when the farmers got together and helped each other. Then if my dad was gone, why we'd have to do all the chores and feed cows and stuff like that.
Did you make butter too? Did Grandma make butter?
Well, she did some, but usually we took our cream to the creamery and then we got
Exchanged it.
exchanged and got butter for some of them. So, and
Do you remember? Was money tight or ever? Or
oh yeah, we were poor quite often. You know, yeah. So, shut it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, back in, what was it, 28 and 29, it was the 19, it was really
Depression.
tough time, yeah, the Depression years,
Yeah.
it was really tough time then, so. We raised a lot of things to eat, and then we butcher the pigs and have for food, but, and a lot of people were in the same position, you know.
Yeah.
Just didn't have much. And
How did they keep, like, when they butchered the pig or whatever, how did you keep your meat? Did they salt it and smoke it or something?
well, we smoked a lot of it, made bacon and hams, and a lot of it we ground into sausage, you know, like and hamburger type stuff.
Yeah.
And well, we had ice boxes too, but that of course didn't keep stuff a long length
Did
of
you
time.
buy the ice? or
And
something?
we used to can it. Mom used to can a lot of meat.
Oh.
Yeah. Have it. And so that was one way of keeping it.
Yeah. Did you have any pets?
Well, we had kittens and cats, and we had one dog. His name was Sport. He was a black dog, but he was
Yeah.
just nothing special. But, I don't think in those days they didn't treat their dogs and animals like they do nowadays. You know,
Yeah.
Pets on they were a farm dog and
They had a purpose.
yeah.
Couldn't afford to have just a pet.
No. And he just got scraps, whatever we
Yeah.